you.
Thank you so much, Maggie, for your warm welcome. It's great to be here. Welcome everybody to Game Beer. Sorry for disturbing your board game session. I'll just make some noise so that you can't pay attention to it. My talk is called 10 Most Common Rookie Mistakes in Game Development. So my first question is, who here is a game designer, game developer? Game developer, game designer. Who has ever tried to design a game? Who would like to design a game sometimes maybe? Okay, so this is for you guys. It's not very in-depth talk as you can tell from the name. So, uh, who am I? Well, I'm Martin Vaňo, as you might have guessed from the slide. I have some 30 plus year experience with game design, 16 out of it professional. I designed AAA computer games, I designed mobile games, I designed um, live action escape games, I've designed live action role playing games, etc. etc. And I've also been teaching for 8 years. I also ran a platform for online courses. Two teachers are actually here uh, called GameDevHub. So yeah, currently I teach at several schools. I design curricula. I also teach online courses, and I'm a mercenary designer at Polyperfect. Mercenary designer is when you are part-time designing a game, co-designing a game. I'm designing this beautiful looking game called Polyperfect. It's a open world survival cozy game with a beautiful color palette, as you can see. And I also have my website. It's in Czech only. I'm sorry. Uh, I'm targeted at Czech market, so sorry, English people. Um, how did I choose the topic of today's talk? Well, it's pretty easy. Uh, I have, throughout my career, I have coached dozens of teams. I have pitched many games. I have designed many games. I have playtested many games, and and I have done all the. Does this work? Yeah. No. I have done all the mistakes myself, so that's how I feel competent about talking about them. Um, so rookie mistake number one is the project is too large. Yeah, because you're not Rockstar Games, you're not Bethesda, you're not CD Projekt Red, so you should really scope down your first game. Everybody, I have heard so many design ideas about open world crafting game with survival and procedurally generated universes and ship management, etc., etc. It's better to start with something small, something that you know that you can do and that you can finish. That way you get your first game done, released, played by people, and that way you get this what I call designer circle, where or designer loop, where you conceive a game, make it, and have people play it. And that's the real experience every game designer should get. That's how you learn game design. Mistake number two is you lack a clear vision. And by the way, a disclaimer, this talk was originally 45 minutes long. It was in Czech. It was intended for GDS. I prepared it for GDS, and it was about digital games, so I tried to tweak it as much as possible. Uh, Disclaimer, you'll see what I'm talking about later. So lack of clear vision. Um, that's, uh, that's not necessarily a problem. Do you know this game, Rocket League? Who knows this game? This game is, I don't know if you know it, but originally when they were playtesting it, there was this bug where if you are in the air and you press thrust button, then it flies like a rocket. The car flies like a rocket. And they were like, that's not bad. And they build the game around it. Now it's the game. It's Rocket League. So often you should leave yourself some space for discovering. But on the other hand, it's good to have some vision, at least some very rough vision. An example that I encounter a lot is the game is an RPG. All right, it's an RPG. So what does it mean? It can mean it's like a tabletop scope RPG where there's a lot of stats and a lot of mechanics attached to it. Or can mean quite the opposite. The RPG is just what? Here to slay. You're laughing. You know the game? Who knows the game? Here to slay. Yeah, it's not very popular. It's the same team. Yeah, is it here? It's the same team that did Unstable Unicorns, and it just dips the area of RPG by classes of the characters, and you need sets of classes to accomplish your goals. So it's something very different. Also, Witcher Old World. Who knows the game? It's great. Uh, this is also quite complex RPG, but you have very few stats that have very specific uses, and you fight using your deck building cards. So that's also something very different. And this Legends, Xia Legends of the Drift System. Do you know this game, anyone? It's a great. Oh, you do. You raise your hand every time. I will remember you. This is a board game that is open world, choose your play style game with space. And the RPG, it's great. It's if you want to buy it, it's only secondhand and it costs €1,000. So, and all the RPGs is concentrated, manifested in this spaceship that you have, that you sort of put together from like Tetris style pieces. So there needs to be a vision, right? And sometimes it's very vague and you really need to concentrate on what it should be. Yeah, the game is hideous. It's just ugly. It's a problem for digital games especially, but we can say, okay, but the beauty is overrated, right? This lady is like a manifestation of shallow culture. She has spawned a lot of clones, especially in her own family. So you can easily argue that beauty is overrated. It's something shallow, something that you have to concentrate on deeper things. Yes, but why nature cares about it so much? Why is nature so visually devote so much effort, evolutional effort to have things pretty? It probably has some value. And we as humans are visual animals, so it's important for us. So if you want to make a pretty game, you need to know the 2 rules of success on Tinder. Who knows the 2 rules of success on Tinder?
Have a job review.
It's just, thank you. It's the different rules. I have different rule set. So the rule number 1 is be hot. Rule number 2 is don't be ugly. And the same goes for games. If you want to have a successful digital game, and I stress digital here, it needs to be pretty, and it doesn't need to be expensive. There's a lot of examples of games like this. Sable, again, who knows it? Played it. It's a 2-man game that is pretty visually striking, and it's an example where you can select some sort of simplification, artistic style that is not so expensive to produce. Then I have Deep Pro Galactics. Rock and Stone, everyone! Yeah, it's my personal addiction. This is also a game made by a very small team with procedurally generated caverns that are destructible, and it's low poly, but the low poly aspect is very pretty and great to look at. Or you can go with something like Cult of the Lamb, super cartoonishly stylized game that's also not as expensive to produce as modern 3D adventure games. But we are talking about board games. Who knows this game? Settlers of Catan. I'm gonna be unpopular here by saying it's hideous. It's not very pretty. It's not one of the ugliest board games there are, but a lot of especially Euro games of the older generation tend to be on the uglier side. It's a great game, and I'm thankful for it because it's arguably one of the founding stones of modern board game revolution, which is a great thing to be. It's a great time of the history to be at. But it doesn't have to be that pretty. Or your board game can just have like very simple graphic layout, and that's it. This is Cards Against Humanity. Again, who knows this game? It's a horrible game. I love it. I suck at it, but yeah, I have mixed feelings about it. And so board games don't necessarily have to be pretty, but it's always a good thing in my mind. So this is a pretty basic advice of how to make your game pretty. Find someone who can draw, preferably not AI, because reasons. Next advice would be, you don't show your game to anyone. You just design it, then you release it and nobody likes it. Probably because you're afraid of your brilliant game design idea being stolen. So that never happens. Or very rarely happens. This guy who invented a lot of things and was in love with a pigeon and was talking to it, says that basically what he hates about ideas being stolen, that other people don't have them. Every game designer has millions of game ideas. But not to say that games aren't stolen. This is Archero, a mobile game. Again, show of hands. Archer, it's a great game, play it. And it's like, I'm gonna say 5 years old. And this is Mighty Doom, recent game by Bethesda Mobile. It's just basically rip-off. So that happens a lot in mobile world. I'm not gonna even go into details of this. This is just an example of a corporation stealing someone's idea and then using this big money they earned on it on defeating him with legal court. So that's very sad. But on the other hand, taking ideas from someone else is a great thing. And a lot of game designers actually love it. Actually want to see that their game inspired somebody to do something different, something a little different. An example would be these 3 games. Again, Dixit is here, show of hands. Dixit. It's a great game, I hate it. I just suck at it. It's not anything personal, I just suck at it. Yeah, that's Dixit. And that has a mechanics where you have to sort of intuitively guess what other people mean by a certain image. So it's like a social guessing game with a very simple mechanic. Krycí jména, so code names. Everybody needs to show their hands. It's super huge. This is basically the same principle, but with like a mesh, like a network of playing fields that you need to guess the right ones using this same mechanic. And then you have Shadows of Amsterdam. I'll be very surprised if anyone knew this game. This adds map movement, so you have to discover things on the map, but you also have to move around it. And again, you're driven by your colleague giving you images. So this is an example of how games can inspire you, and it doesn't count as stealing. As long as you add a twist, as long as you are the next evolutionary step. Another problem that people run into is no PR. You don't have any PR strategy whatsoever, and then no one can know about your great game, and then no one will play, not mentioning pay for it. So you're just wasting your work on the endless pit that is the internet. So it's also quite late to start thinking about your game launch about your game PR strategy before your game launch. And as a board game designer, everybody needs to visit this place. Anyone knows what that is? It's Essen Spielmesse. It's a festival. It's a huge, big ass festival with like 1,000 games, board games being shown, introduced, play tested, and it's a must-go event for any board game designer who wants to have some success with their game, especially publish it internationally. And in Czech Republic we have GameCon, which is a very tiny event. I think it's in summer sometime, and it's a non-digital game festival. So there's all kind of RPGs, TTRPGs, board games, etc., etc., a lot of stuff. go there if you wanna present your game to public. Also, I needed to add some famous person like quote. Uh, the worst thing then that can happen to you is not that your game gets stolen, but that nobody actually cares about it. So yeah. Rule number 7, advice number 7, mistake number 6. Whoa, I should learn numbers. You don't pay attention to other games. You don't know. Basically, if you want to get the best at something, you need to learn, research what is the current humanity's advancement level. What is the latest things that are happening right now? Um, People often tend to overlook it. It's called market research. Also, if you steal from one, it's plagiarism. If you steal from many, it's market research. Market research is basically for a designer a tool to learn how other similar games work and hopefully learn something from their mistakes or from their strong mechanisms, strong points. What the hell? Oh yeah, this is just what I'm talking about. Sorry, I did this slide today. So this is what I'm talking about. You learn about how other party games work, and then you can build on it. You don't write things down. People don't like documentation. It's boring. It's not fun. You have to sit on your chair and just write things down, which is boring. But also, some people might argue that game design document is some like abomination. There's a lot of fierce discussion about how game design documents should look like, but you should definitely write things down, even if you don't want to have detailed game design documents. Drink your stuff. This is auto translate. Should be write your stuff. How is it? Okay. Yeah, it's game. The AI knows where I am. Um, Yeah, by the way, guys, you should have some drink because we need to raise the 20K to have this place for free. Yeah, so this is like uh, green for just getting tipsy. So why you should drink your drink? At least you know what's happening in my head. You know, looking forward my beer after this. So you have to have clear assignments, clear descriptions of how things work, how things should be done, because you have your idea in your head, and then somebody else usually needs to do it, needs to do the 3D modeling, to design the board, and he doesn't see inside your head, so it needs to be written down so that he can read it. Also, after half a year, you wouldn't remember what you discussed on this meeting about this particular feature, and you needed to know it right now. So it's useful to have it written. Also, there's a thing called design intention. It means, why am I putting this particular mechanic card level in game? And if you don't write this down, then you forget it, and then you just take it off, and then you put it back for the same reasons. This can happen like a ping pong. It's very inefficient. And also, as a board game designer, you will have a lot of playtesting documents, playtesting notes, because board games are not developed digitally. It's not an application. So as a result, there needs to be a lot of playtesting, way more playtesting than digital games, maybe even because board game players are much more they want more from the design. They want more from the game. They want innovation. They want complexity often. So it's important to innovate, and that means playtesting. No development plan. Again, this is more for digital games that can easily run over budget and then just blow up into everybody's face. And if you don't have this plan, that means chaos. Exactly. Warhammer 40K. A lot of nerdy jerks for the two nerds here. And we don't want chaos, we need order in the galaxy. Order in the galaxy. No alien will climb from the warp to disrupt our development cycle. So And especially like I mentioned with board games, um, this is this is not a board game. This is like a prototype of I don't even know what. So it's a very rough, and you need to carry it around and have people play it. And since there's a lot of playtesting required for a board game, then it takes up a lot of time. And also, producing a board game is a nightmare in the disrupted supply chains after COVID. It's very difficult to put your game in Kickstarter and say the transport fees will be this amount because before it's produced in a year or two, the transport fees just go footu because some idiot can drive through Suez Canal. Um, we're getting towards the end, 21 minutes. Yeah, I can do it. Uh, Game is not portable enough. Originally, this was not, it cannot be launched, it cannot be started. But game is not portable enough since you need a lot of playtesting. You need to be able to give it to people to play, and if it's like a two big suitcases of different cards and boards and tokens, then it's very difficult. And there is a solution, and not one. Do you guys know what this is? Anyone? Excuse me? It's it's some sort of game. Simulic. But the point is, it's digital. It's tabletop simulators. There are several environments, desktop GG, tabletop simulator, uh, and I think two more that help you easily produce your game from spreadsheets and have it loaded into them and to be played digitally, right? You don't. The easy thing about this is that you do not have to code in the rules. You have to really play it and keep the rules, keep the track of the rules yourselves. But you can just send somebody a link and they can play it. And that way you can get a lot of feedback. Then the only thing you need is Discord with a bot that collects the feedback into an Excel sheet and you're done. And number 10, you cling to a bad idea. I've done it so many times. Everybody knows this. This is not a beginner mistake. This is everybody's mistake. Everybody invents this great, scene level mechanic, and and then it turns out it's bad, and you just want to have it there. And you work a lot to just have some workarounds in the game, and it turns out destroying the whole game, or it's just very inefficient. So it's easier to get rid of your bad idea. That's why I'm introducing creative amnesia, which is a process by which you forget about the idea and it never comes back. You don't bring it up on every other team meeting as the backlog item that you should definitely put it in. No, it's gone and you deal with it. It's hard. So that's my 10. I'm not running over time that much, so I have a bonus. You won't succeed immediately. That's people think that they will succeed immediately. That's not the case. I just lost the light. I don't care. And people you want to have everything right now, and it's not easy with game design. There are exceptions, like this guy who knows this game. Everyone should know this game. It's an amazing game. It's a master thesis on a school by Jakub Dvorský a Manita Design. And it basically catapulted him immediately into, I'm going to say, indie developer stardom. There's Factorio, a game that has been developed for a very long time. Hey, this guy raises his hands by himself. It's great. They're great. We will have beer together. And they almost didn't launch it because they totally didn't do a proper Kickstarter campaign, but by a nice mistake, by a lucky turn of events, they funded the game and are super successful with it. Or this. Do you know what this game is? This is Tetris. Not the fancy thing, from Game Boy. And later, heretical machines with more than one color. Or graphic card processor. This is, I'm gonna say 1985 Tetris. Maybe it's earlier. I don't know. It's a very old game. And this guy had this is a best-selling game ever, according to Wikipedia. Far more best-selling than any other game. And the poor guy, Pajitnov, didn't see much income because he lived on the other side of the Iron Curtain, where stealing your intellectual property is okay. So he didn't have any representation. Now everything turned for good, and he's now rich. So, but Nintendo, I'm sure, has a problem with it. And to show you some board game, this is Vláďa Chvátil, a great guy and very successful game designer. I didn't have the time to check how many games he has listed in top 20 of the Board Game Geek, which is like a world's popularity rated list of board games. He's most well known for Codenames, but this was not his first game, definitely. He was working on Dračí doupě. He was as a writer. He also designed several computer games in Altar Interactive that weren't particularly successful. And this game is not even his typical game. His typical games are super complex simulations like Civilization games or Dungeon Keeper, the board game, like tons and tons of mechanics. And this is like it's not his typical game, but he has a lot of success with it now. So to sum up, this says summary. So mistake number 2, it's a mega project. Mistake number 1. Mistake number 2, this is the drinking again. Lack of vision, you don't know what the game is supposed to be about. Your game is hideous. You don't show it to other people to tell you if it's good or bad before it's finished. You don't care about telling anyone about your game, about doing it in PR. You don't research your niche, your market, your game style properly. You don't write things down. You have no development plan. Your game is not portable enough. You cling to bad ideas, and you think you're going to be successful immediately. So if you don't do these 11 things, you'll be great. But the biggest mistake, anyone knows what the biggest mistake is? Yes, this is you again. I love you. It's to never even start. Because if you don't start, it doesn't happen. You can fail. And it's great if you fail, if your game sucks, and you learn that it's maybe not the thing for you. It's better than dying, thinking, I should have been a game designer. I never did anything for it. So if you want to do it, start with it. Board games are quite simple to produce. You don't need any special particular skills for it. And that's it. Thank you for your attention. And now we have maybe time for some